Coffee and a Kiss by Scott Webster Wood. They had dated a few times, although she was beginning to wonder if he was really interested in her. After all, they hadn't even yet had their first kiss. Sure, he had hinted as much. The subject of their admiration for one another had been raised a couple of times, and the feeling at least seemed mutual. Was he simply an old-style gentleman? Maybe he was just a prude. Perhaps he was just not that into her. These thoughts ran through her mind, although they walked through town discussing other things. Philosophy, science, even mundane topics of day-to-day. They were in the middle of discussing psychology as they passed a restaurant. The smells of the cooking food wafted out into the street, and she stopped a moment to take them in. Sensing his wonderment as to her sudden stop, she said simply, "Smells good." "See, there's a great example," he said, keeping on his original train of thought. "They have linked the sense of smell to associative memory. Have you ever noticed how a certain smell can trigger some far-off recollection?" As he spoke again, she remembered why she liked him, his mind ever inquisitive and pondering. Again she recalled how she yearned for something more. Suddenly his composure changed a little, and he broke off what he was saying. "Oh dear," she thought, "I hope my discontent didn't show on my face." Then something seemed to pull his attention away just as quickly, and he said simply, "Ooh, a coffee shop. Let's grab a coffee." He grabbed onto her hand, and in his occasional boyish fashion led her into the coffee shop. "What kind of coffee do you normally drink?" he asked. "My treat." "A mocha latte," she said, rather plainly, still wondering to herself if she might be able to broach the subject that had begun to trouble her mind. He paid the teller and was about to pick up the two coffees when he stopped, and motioned her to the side of the counter. "Let's try a little experiment," he said, with almost a mischievous smile. "Close your eyes." She obeyed, assuming he was up to his typical yet witty hijinks. She could hear him opening the lid to one of the cups. "This is what you normally order, right? This wouldn't work as well if it wasn't. Keep your eyes closed now." She nodded affirmation, and he carefully raised her coffee to below her nose. "Okay, now take a good, long sniff." She breathed in the smell. The rich coffee odor mingled with the chocolate and cream. She hadn't really been craving coffee, but the smell now made her yearn for a sip. "Okay," he said, lowering the cup, quickly following with, "But keep your eyes closed." His voice almost seemed to contain a small hint of urgency. Before she could ponder it further, she felt his body moving closer to hers. Cupping her cheek with his hand, she felt his warm lips slowly pressing against hers. The feeling it provoked was far better than any fulfillment of the sudden urge for coffee, and her concerns about his interest in her all washed away in that touch of their lips. The kiss seemed to go on, although it probably only lasted a few seconds. Rushes of emotions and of satisfaction ran through her mind, as her mind swam, taking it in. She stood dazed as the moment concluded, his hand caressing the side of her chin as he slowly moved his lips away, but not his body. She could sense he was still close, and could feel his warm breath on her cheeks. "Okay. Now open your eyes," he said finally. She now found him to be very close, his eyes looking quite affectionately into her own. Fumbling for something to say, all she could come up with was, "What was that for?" and regretting having said it as soon as the words came out. He did not seem discouraged, and simply resumed his mischievous smile. "Well, based on what we were talking about, I see it like this. I've wanted for some time to kiss you, but I kept waiting for just the right moment. Then we got talking about psychology and smells and memory. Well, this way, any time you want to remember our first kiss, you can just order a cup of your favorite coffee to help you remember." He still didn't lose his impish smile, and he settled back to the counter, replaced the lid to her cup, handing it to her before taking a sip from his own. "And," he continued, "there is another part that didn't fail to occur to me either. A tad selfish, really. It brings me pleasure to think that now. If you're at work tomorrow or next week or whenever, and happen to order a mocha, you might suddenly smile, and no one else will know why." This concludes the reading of Coffee and a Kiss by Scott Webster Wood. For more stories, including more romantic fiction, please check out objectopus.wordpress.com.